Bank by 5-2 vote. And here we are on April 24th in the hearing for the budget. The final tax levy. Final tax levy is the same as last year. You can see the tax rate and the increase it's approximately $32. Even though we're spending the same amount of money because the property values, the overall property assessments in the township went down, the rate went up. So that's the $32 increase per year on the average home. These are some of the potential impacts on the budget, on future budgets. If we don't collect what we anticipated, that could create an issue for us. And I was just trying to make the council aware in the memo that I provided of potential things that could happen as we move forward. Also, if we're unable to, if we have some unanticipated overtime expenditures, we may not be able to meet those expenditures. And as you can see, these things are directly related to the particular cuts that you saw on the other sheet. Tax appeals are up this year, a huge issue. But thankfully this year we have more money in reserve than we had in last year. And that is it. If there's any questions.
Thank you. This is where any members of the public wishing to be heard on the municipal budget can come up and ask questions. Dr. Pruitt.
The question is about the, I'll wait for William to come back, the lost in space. Is he coming back?
Yes.
He's
coming back. He's coming
back.
back.
There you go. Okay, William. The question I have is about the cap. Since the council voted not to bank the cap, what happens if you have unanticipated expenses? How do you deal with that?
You're going to answer at the end?
You're going to answer?
Ms. Kramer, anyone else? Yes. Yeah.
You'll answer at the end. Be helpful. The answers after the questions.
It's sort of related to what Dr. Pruitt was asking. Snow plowing in 2011 was minimal. So if we brought down the amount to the 2011 snow plowing, we might have a real problem next year if we have a normal or a heavier snow. No, you're shaking your head, Mr. Gusson? What was that, a problem? No? Am I being too picky?
We're not allowed to answer you until
I know,
the
but
end
he's
of
like
this.
got his hand in his head like I'm being ridiculous, so I just was curious. But I mean, that's typical, I guess, how the public is treated. Also, overtime in 2011, it was not clear. I mean, how do you, if you didn't, the problem is if you didn't budget enough, and we do have a problem, there's going to be overtime, and then you'll have more money that you're going to need to find, right? I mean, you have to find money. That's about what I barely understood from all of this. The other thing is the software. If it's, people were talking about how overwhelmed and overworked the clerk's office is, that if that software is going to make things easier, I really would recommend buying it. I had heard from somebody in another town that actually it really was very helpful to streamline the clerk's office. So, you know, I would consider that you look at it anyway, more carefully, and consider buying it since you're going to have the money there anyway.
Doctor.
I'm curious,
Is there a way that we can tell whether or not there was any savings with regards to the 4-day work week in comparison to, like, i.e. energy? Are we saving money? Originally, that's what, was intended to do, was to save the taxpayers, and is it reflected in the budget? Is there any type of cost analysis that we could refer to, or has there been a comparison? Thank you.
Mr. Rashid.
Okay, Dr. Rashid Teaneck. A couple of things. First of all, I want to address this question about software. I asked it during Good Welfare. I didn't get any answers. Well, from my experience, the clerks department is one of the busiest and the hard-working departments in the whole government. And the thing is that if anything can be used to help it to automate and all stuff, it should be done. And I think the clerk is from whom I interviewed, met with, heads of departments, is the most technology conscious head of the department. And I think it should be supported. And if there are particular objections, I would like to hear them, because I didn't hear anything. Other thing is, again, about the clerk's department. I tried to get Oprah. She sometimes cannot provide it because documents don't exist. Like, for example, I tried 2 Oprahs for cupola. There were no data. Just not existing. From heads of all of departments. It was not there. Therefore, you see, she cannot provide you with information which has to be first created by somebody. And she is responsible then to just get it for you and all this stuff. So please do support the good work and provide it with means to be to be performed better, and not just throw it. Okay, clerk didn't do that and all this stuff. I think this were wrong accusations, because again, some of the documents don't exist. The records were not kept. Partially, just I think that's manager's business, because cupola was his. Okay, I didn't find it. There's none. Okay, so therefore, you see, that's one thing. Second thing is, just to Naomi's question, the thing is, the budget of 2011 was done at the beginning of 2011. But to clarify, therefore, before any storms, okay, and any just unanticipated events, therefore it was considered to be done for regular year, not extraordinary year. The fact that we spend more was that the year was extraordinary. We cannot and should not just plan for earthquakes, which could happen and happened already. Okay, could be more. Okay, but we cannot plan for that and save $1 million in case. Okay, so if it comes, then we have to find emergency appropriation, which again, complex thing, but nevertheless. So the thing is that this, I think, shows that we still might have reserves there, and this is good. And that means that possible probably to lower taxes further next year if we are lucky and there are no catastrophes and so on and so forth. So I think, but please just address the software issue, because again, too much load with no support is not good, and there are objections. They should be discussed transparently for public and the council. Thank you.
Powers.
Charles Powers, Teaneck. I've actually had the chance to manage a lot of major transitions from one sort of level of technology capability to another. And invariably, it requires, at the time you're trying to introduce the technology, more personnel than what you've had before. So the idea that somehow software is going to replace the need for personnel support. I understand there's supposed to have been a subcommittee of this council making recommendations about what to do about the clerk's office. It is something which is obviously great concern to a lot of us, and it seems to me that somebody needs to think hard. I don't see anywhere in the process that this council and this administration goes through that the business about the introduction of technology and what its consequences are for intermediate or interim support of the purpose of that organization. You cannot continue not to have minutes. You cannot continue not to have LOPR responses, but you do need a transformed clerk's office. You've got to figure out what that involves, and somebody has to give the thought process to it. I don't see the analytic thought process going on in this council to be able to do that. Second, I want to say something else. Every time I have been successful as a manager in actually managing budgets, and I've done a lot, I just got a $40 million increase in a renewal of a large project I run. And there's no question that the way in which you keep track of a budget is always and everywhere to know where you are in relationship with your actual cash flow in relation to what your budgetary activity is. These budget numbers, these surplus numbers that somehow show up at the end, who knows what to make of them because you don't know where they came from. And therefore, you don't know how, as a council, or indeed, I believe as administration, to go through the process of understanding where it is you do have the potential to make cuts because you don't know what the history of that has been. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. That's how a good budget is kept. It's how it is that you have become transparent to your community about what the heck you're doing, because I don't think anybody knows at all what you're about ready to do. Thank you.
Mr. Rose?
Howard Rose, Teaneck resident. Just a small concern, well, maybe it's not that small, regarding the banking of the cap. I'd like a little more explanation in terms of why the council, and maybe in that explanation, I'll help understand it, and maybe you'll even change your mind and go in another direction, why we're not carrying that bank. Because it seems to me, while everyone is advocating, and I included, that we have savings and reduced taxation and zero budget and whatnot, it seems as if you're taking away a situation that would allow more flexibility in the future, one that we hope will not be used, but allows you more flexibility in the future should the contingency arise where you will need it. And I don't understand the rationale, in a sense, of taking away something that you can potentially use if you need it, and just have a situation where it doesn't exist, and goodness sakes, if it does exist where you need it in the future, it's not there. So I'd like a little more explanation on that. You may be entirely right, but I think it deserves a little more discussion.
Spielman? Mr. Spielman?
Thank you again, and good evening again. First off, I want to start by thanking Ms. Evelina for being such a good sport as we're talking about her in the third person as if we're not standing right in front of her the entire time, and of her office. And second, I'd like to say that this is actually a really good opportunity to once again push and plug for shared and combined services, and it was mentioned a lot last night at the forum, with neighboring municipalities, with the county, with Board of Ed, with neighboring boards of ed, et cetera, et cetera. You know, we don't all need to have one of each thing. If we can just share it and work together, we can probably save a lot of money. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no other hands, hearing is now closed. Mr. Manager, if you could address the cap bank.
Actually, I have the auditor here,
Okay.
and I think that the question that Dr. Pruitt asked and the cap bank issue could be addressed by the auditor who represents the town.
Maria Cremona from Woodridge, New Jersey, working for Garbarine Company. The question that was addressed was with regards to the cap bank. You are allowed by resolution to increase your cap bank to 3.5%. The council chose to remain at 2%. This does not affect you for 2012 because you didn't need the bank. You decided to stay at a level municipal rate, therefore you didn't need the extra funds. However, this cap bank is there for future years. So it generally lapses every two years. So you'd be able to use it for 13 and 14. Now that you've decided to lapse it and not use it, you no longer have it. Therefore, what happens is, even if you have new inflows of revenue that you need appropriations to support, you will not be able to use this bank because you no longer have it. Forever, it's gone. If you do not pass the resolution before adoption, it's gone. You do have some left over from last year, which will lapse in another year. So by not passing that, it just gives you a little extra cushion. Doesn't mean you ever have to use it, but it's there for a reason so that in the future, if you ever do need it, you have it. Basically, that's the answer. So it doesn't affect you for this year, but it may affect you for the next couple of years. Okay?
And the second question, was that the answer? What was it?
The second question was the 2011 snow budget. We do have the snow trust. Do we still have money in the snow trust?
No, there was another. That answered Dr. Pruitt's question?
Hold on one second. Back and forth.
The question was, what do you do if you need access to money?
Well,
If you need to increase your
please
budget,
address the council, please.
yes,
Thank you.
I apologize. If you need to, you no longer have access to that additional bank. Every year, you may or may not generate more money, depending on how your budget turns out. So that bank that you earned for the 2011 year is gone. So again, you can pass a resolution to keep it there for 2 years just in case you need it, but you voted it down at this point, so it's not there.
So what, I believe he was asking, so what happens if it's not there, but we do need money?
If it's not there, your only
Question, I
choice
believe.
would be to cut your appropriations down to a level of 2%. Or, again, that particular year, whether it be 12 or 13 or 14, you can again pass a resolution to go up to the 3.5%. However, if that's a year where you need more than 3.5%, you don't have a prior bank to use.
Right.
Okay?
Dr. Pruitt, does that answer your question?
I'm not satisfied with that, but
Okay.
that's the
Okay.
answer.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
With regards to
Mayor, I just had a question for the auditor. She can answer from there. It's fine, but whatever. We're past the point of no return on the cat bank, correct? For this year.
You need to pass it before adoption, the resolution. So if you chose not to adopt, then you can pass it. Yeah.
And may I ask a question here? We really do not need to submit this budget till June 30th. We have correct? We have in the past delayed the budget for a variety of reasons. Many of us feel that we need to really do some thinking about this budget and about where we're going. Is it possible, if we decide tonight, if the majority of the council were to say, you know what, we really need to think this all through more clearly, that we could delay this? I realize we'd have to go through another emergency appropriation, probably,
In what respect? What do you mean emergency
to
appropriation?
pay for the ongoing services. If we don't have a budget, we have to have emergency
Well,
appropriations. to
you
pay.
have us,
But, I mean,
exactly.
We've done it, yes.
Right.
all
Another,
thank
you're
you.
going to have to increase your
Exactly.
amend your appropriations. That's correct.
Yes, right.
Yes,
But
you
we
do have that.
We could.
Yes,
we
you could.
delay this. We could then, if we chose, I'm just laying
Mm-hmm.
this out. We could then, if we chose, revisit the resolution. You're saying that resolution
correct.
could be revisited if we wanted to.
Yes.
But we are not bound, I believe, to adopt the budget this
No.
evening. And the state's not going to come in. I looked this all up. The state is not going to descend on us tomorrow and take over our budget.
That is a decision council will have to make.
Right.
Technically and under the law, you are required to pass this budget at this meeting. Should you not pass this budget, the law provides you have to explain to the Division of Local Services
Exactly.
what's involved, and then it's their decision as to whether or not they want to impose a budget or whether or not they want to grant you time. In all likelihood, they won't come down, I agree, but legally, I have to say, you're supposed to pass the budget tonight. And you chose at the last meeting not to pass the cap bank. This was explained at the last meeting with the cap bank, that it was an insurance policy to the town, that if you had to spend more money and you had the appropriation to spend, you had the ability to do so. And council voted not to do it.
What would be the process for us to revisit that? Can it be revisited this evening?
Okay, no.
No.
No, because it's a hearing, it's not a resolution, it's the second part of the introduction of the ordinance, it's not listed on tonight's agenda, you defeated it at the last meeting.
Okay.
So if you do not adopt the budget tonight, probably nothing will happen, but that is not what the law is. The law does require you to do something. That's a decision you have to make.
Okay.
The question, I think, for the members of council that did not support the cap bank, have they had a change of heart? Because, I mean...
I have not.
Okay,
Okay,
so then...
Adam, have you?
No, and I think that this is...
Wait, hold on one second. Ellie, have you?
Yeah, the public portion is closed.
Portion's closed.
Yeah. Have you changed your mind?
Here's the workshop, guys. Here's the workshop.
I've not changed my mind from my no vote. My no vote stands.
Okay, so, yeah, so,
On the cap bank, but the same vote I voted last week is what I'm
Okay.
voting right now.
okay, so there's no reason to move on that. I think that, does anybody have any more questions on the budget?
I just wanted to address Ms. Kramer's comment on the snowplows and
I already voted no.
I'm sorry?
I already voted yes on it. It's no need.
I'm sorry.
Wait,
What's going on?
guys, there's no back and forth. Guys, stop it, okay? I mean, seriously. There's no back and forth. You can put your hand down, sir. Okay?
Well, it's still a hearing on the hearing.
As frustrating as
been
it
closed.
is sometimes where we can't give you answers for you not to get them, it's as frustrating for us not to be able to just give the answer. And so that's what my head rubbing. As far as when we talk about the snow plowing budget, and you talked about 2011 not being a heavy snow plowing intensive year, you're absolutely right. But that doesn't change the fact that in 2010, when we put the budget in place, we had expectations for snow removal expenses for 2011, and that was the 2011 budget, not what was actually expended in 2011. So when we talk about bringing the snow plowing down to the 2011 level, it was what was budgeted for 2011, not what was expended in 2011.
But also, correct me if I'm wrong, last 2011, we did have considerable storm. I mean, it wasn't snowstorms, but we had the storm in October and we had something in spring where we had,
August,
We
yeah.
had a lot of the winter.
yeah, the
But
January.
this was specifically snow plowing, we were talking
Okay.
about, not other storm cleanup.
Okay.
Okay, if we could move along, if we could just, if nobody has any more questions, if nobody has any more questions on the adoption of the budget, would somebody like to move the budget?
Well, we finish with the conversation about the cap?
About the cap bank?
I think
Yeah.
What did you...
everyone who voted against the cap bank last
Everybody-
week had indicated that they had no intention
Guys,
of changing
okay,
it.
look, you don't have any more questions, and I'm respectfully asking the public to stop yelling out. Now this is our time to discuss what's going on. Okay, I'm
Dr.
sorry.
Pruitt, you can't ask a question now.
I just want to make sure that we've put the issue of possibly revisiting the cap bank to bed.
Yes, nobody here is changing, nobody's changing their mind
Is
on
that
it.
correct? Nobody else?
Did
Ellie?
you change your mind?
No, he voted.
I voted for it.
He voted
You
for it.
voted for it, okay.
Okay. Okay.
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay, there is,
Actually, I'd like to, for the public's sake, to talk about why I voted against the cap bank. And this is something that I spoke at briefly at the last meeting when we talked about ice cream and dieting. But in all seriousness, extending the cap bank or the appropriations cap bank from 2% to 3.5%, I believe, simply gives councils too much leeway to spend money when difficult choices could be made to save residents, taxpayers money. And so I think the cap bank, there's already a 2% bank. This was to increase it to 3.5%. I think that 2% is enough leeway for unforeseen circumstances, but to increase it to 3.5% ties up dollars that don't need to be spent if it comes to a council having the ability to spend those dollars or make other difficult decisions, well, if the dollars are there, they're going to get spent, and tough choices aren't going to get made. So this is a way to program tough choices being made in the future, which will ultimately reduce the tax burden on our homeowners.
So how do you deal with that if we have the additional revenue? I mean, if we have the money,
Because we have additional revenue doesn't mean we go out and spend like drunken sailors. I think that's what it's about.
I don't think that.
We are not taking, excuse me, we're not taking any comments for the,
Okay.
we're not, the hearing is over.
Can I,
You can do that.
look, Dr. Pruitt, I mean, I'm sorry. Look, I'm not sorry.
Sitting here in the hearing
Yeah,
for final adoption of the budget.
yeah, I'm sorry right now, this is not,
Finally adopt the budget.
there's
You
no
can change
discussion.
whatever you want to
There's-
until that time.
There's no discussion going on back and
I got
forth,
it.
you've said. Thank you. Now, you see that there's, some people say that it's always partisan form of government. I'd like to say that there's two people who don't always agree on one side, and there's four people on the other side who don't always agree who are on this cap bank.
I can't think of many times when me and gets do or don't agree.
I mean, I'm just saying that...
We're
you know,
usually quiet on this
I
side.
mean, usually it's just, I'm just saying that usually that the perception is out there, is, you know, in these things that, but I'm just saying, it's not always what everybody perceives. So, if we would like to move forward with the Resolution D adoption of budget, would somebody like to move Resolution D?
I'd like to move Resolution D.
I'll second.
Resolution what? Where are we?
Resolution D as in David,
D
to
as in
adopt the
David.
2012 municipal budget.
Right, this is adoption.
Councilmember Parker?
Roll call.
Yes.
Is there any discussion? We've been having discussion. Okay, I just want to say that as part of this discussion, I am going back to something I stated 4 years ago when I was running for council, which is I really believe that we badly need to clean this whole mess up, to have a zero-based budget. Zero-based, not zero increase. Start from scratch, starting and building a budget so we actually know what things cost, what we are doing. I would like to say that whether I'm on the council or not next year, much as I don't really love numbers, I would be happy to take responsibility for gathering a committee to oversee the building of a zero-based budget next year so we actually know what we're spending and can at least begin to understand this budget, because I am very unhappy with this. I also do not, as I've said before, want to find myself, as I found myself in 2009, having to consider layoffs, which I am unwilling to accept.
Roll call, please, again.
Councilmember Parker?
Yes.
Councilmember Stern?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gussin?
Yes.
Councilmember Katz?
Yes.
Councilmember Toffler?
I'm abstaining.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay. Resolution E. Somebody like to move Resolution E?
Yeah, I'd like to move Resolution E as in Edward.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Parker?
Yes.
Councilmember Stern?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gussin?
Yes.
Councilmember Katz?
Yes.
Councilmember Toffler?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Cedar Lane Special Improvement District budget for the calendar year 2012.
Hearing is now open. Would anybody like to speak from the public? On public hearing on 2012 Cedar Lane Special Improvement District budget. No one would like to speak on, it's only on the Cedar Lane budget. Come on up, sir.
It's a process question. If you have a hearing, that means that there may be some modification after the hearing. So if we talk about the Cedar Lane budget and there's some discussion, then there could be modification. Otherwise, why have the hearing?
Okay, we
That's the
discussed
way,
this.
that is the way it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, but we did discuss it. There was nobody who was willing to change on the cap bank. That was the issue that we had here.
No, but the reality is we have a hearing and then we have a vote right afterward. It's not as if we have a hearing and then another week.
But if somebody had changed their vote on the cap bank, then we would have a motion and a second and a whole different set of rules that are going.
The hearing's still open.
If you will recall, at the last meeting, I think it was April 3rd, if that was the date of the meeting, it was made very clear to the council that if they were going to make any changes in the budget, it really had to be done on April 3rd.
That's right.
Because mechanically, you cannot make changes to this document. It is far too extensive.
The hearing was never closed.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just reminded the council that you had to make changes last time, and that was announced last time, that any changes had to be done at April 3rd, or you would not be able to change it this evening.
Charles Powers, Teaneck. My earlier comment was about how you run a budget. And you run a budget for anything, including what's now before you, by knowing what it was that you got through spending, and you keep track of it by virtue of the categories that were in the budget, and you follow what you did with that. In terms of going through the process you're now in, you need, from your attorneys, a much, much clearer description of what it is that constitutes what you do and do not have available to you as options as you move through parts of this process. I will aver, and I will go and prove it by listening to the tapes, and I'm good at that because I develop transcripts. I will prove to you that what you've actually heard from your attorneys has been inconsistent in several of your meetings. So therefore, you did not know what options you were closing off to yourself, particularly in the last meeting, because in the meeting prior to that, you were told, in fact, there was still opportunity to make change, and then last meeting, you were told you did not. And I won't prove that by transcript. Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing is now closed.
Yeah, just for the, I guess, public benefit, as far as the Cedar Lane Special Improvement District budget, this is a budget that is put together by a board of business owners, residents, and property owners in the Cedar Lane Special Improvement District. That budget is to determine how to spend the Cedar Lane Special Improvement District assessment. This is not tax dollars that homeowners pay the township. This is a special assessment in addition to the standard tax levy for properties in the district for the betterment of the district, and it is decided largely by the members of businesses or properties in that district.
Would you like to move it?
I'd like to move Resolution F, as in Frank.
Second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Parker?
Yes.
Councilmember Stern?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gussin?
Yes.
Councilmember Katz?
Yes.
Councilmember Toffler?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Somebody like to move the consent agenda?
I'd like to move the consent agenda with resolutions G through U and the bill list in the amount of $4,917,668.14.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that, man.
Seconded by Councilman Stern. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Parker?
Yes, with an abstention on 166501.
Councilmember Stern?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gussin?
Yes.
Councilmember Katz?
Yes, with an abstention on resolution G as in George, J as in John, K as in King, M as in Mary, N as in Nancy, and the bill list.
Okay. Councilmember Toffler?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Next item on tonight's agenda is introduction of ordinances. Can you read ordinance 4258, please?
Ordinance 4258, an ordinance amending Chapter 36 entitled Traffic of the Township Code.
Somebody like to move ordinance 4258?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Parker?
Yes.
Councilmember Stern?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gussin?
Yes.
Councilmember Katz?
Yes.
Councilmember Toffler?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Old business, Toffler versus Teaneck Township Council, legal fees and expenses from the bill list of 43012. Was there a question that, I forgot what who brought
This
it.
came
We
up.
pulled the check.
Right, there was some checks that, and we wanted to know. We were under the impression that we paid the final bill, right? And
We didn't.
And we didn't. So how many more bills are there?
To my knowledge, one bill was submitted last Thursday that was submitted to the manager's office.
So what's that total now?
My recollection was about $4,000 in January and February.
And the total of...
Mr. Manager, is that all the bills that have been submitted?
Yes, that is all bills. Yeah, I just got a bill that'll be on the next bill list. It's 4,000 something. I don't have it here in front of me.
So the total amount comes out to?
I believe it's about 23,000, the total amount.
23,000.
And that bill that you got, is that the final?
That's the final.
It was through, if my recollection is correct, it was through February 13th.
When was this, when...
I believe he was notified around February 12th from the official documentation, or February 10th. I don't know what the exact date was.
Okay, so...
My attorney spent 4.8 hours from Christmas to February 8th, so
Okay.
somebody else's didn't.
Okay.
And was your bill comparable to this?
Much lower. I gave you that information, just you had asked me and I sent an email, so you should have an email that specifies the hours that my lawyer spent. For the appeal, my lawyer spent 4.8 hours, and that's the January and February. Until I canceled it, so sounds like a lot, but then again, my lawyer was charging me less than your lawyer was charging you. So. But I mean, that doesn't change the hours. But at any rate,
Does anybody have any more questions under old business? No. Okay. Miscellaneous.
Was that final, I'm sorry, was that last one that was just submitted, you said, was that already, is that part of this?
No.
No. There's one bill left for $4,000 that has to be submitted.
That has to be put on
Yeah,
the bill.
plus the bill that was on the...
Well, yeah, I think we pulled that check from the last meeting because we wanted to get an understanding of where the total account or the total cost lies. Is there any reason why we would hold off paying that bill at this point? I mean, was there any question as to the veracity of those bills that we pulled?
Is it on the bill list?
I don't think it's on the bill list. No.
Okay.
So on the next bill list, you'll see...
All three?
Yes, you'll see that bill, two. That bill and the one I just received.
Okay.
point of order. There is actually a Teaneck code statement that the council has to decide if it does want to continue after 11 o'clock for a variety of reasons, including people's weariness, temperament, and other things. It is 11:15. I propose that we end this meeting.
I think that we can get through it very quickly.
It's actually very clear that we have, and a motion to adjourn requires a vote with no discussion. Are you proposing a motion to adjourn?
I am proposing a motion to adjourn.
Do you have a second? Anyone second?
No.
Okay. We're just going to get through this very quickly.
Okay. Please have the record show that I am leaving. It's been a long and very difficult night.
Okay. Anything under new business? No. Okay.
Go straight to council.
Well, committee reports, I do have something that I thought that I wanted to put on there. The Senior Citizen Advisory Board, I think that because we're looking for new members, they do have some issues. Again, that when we first started, we met with them. If you could just reach out to the chair and the vice chair again to talk over some issues regarding, the Friends of the Senior budget. They would like an accounting of that, as well as have a say in some of the. If you could meet with them and Glenna and talk. Some things true about their vision for the Senior Citizens Advisory Board and Friends of the Senior Center.
Which one do you want me to meet with?
The Senior Citizens Advisory Board, the one with Jane and Ms. Irwin. Yeah. Council listed items. Township garage sale.
We didn't get council liaison.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to report and thank publicly Mr. Broughton as well as Issa and Jamie and the recreation staff for all that they have done. to this point to get the Washington, D.C. trip in order. I know that things got kind of hairy towards the end. It's not, we haven't gone yet, but I just want to publicly thank them. And I also want to thank Congressman Rothman's office for providing lunch for the 49 people from Teaneck that will be attending this trip. I can't even talk because it is late, but I want to wish them well. Unfortunately, I will not be able to journey to Washington, D.C. with the group, but I wish them well, and I'm sure that it's going to be a wonderful educational learning experience. And again, I just want to thank everybody, Lisa and Andrew and Glenna and the Recreation Department for all that they've done. And once again, really thank the manager for securing the funds from the Police Athletic League. This trip is not costing our students and the chaperones that are going any money at all. And I think he deserves a round of applause for that.
Who from the council is going at the end?
There's no council member going. No. And I can't go for health reasons. You obviously know why.
Okay, Councilman Katz, you wanted to hold yours for next week?
I'm going to hold my garage sale.
What about the other two?
No, I'm not. I can't hold the other two.
Okay. So, Councilman Stern, yours?
Yeah, I just in your package you'll find a draft resolution which was provided to me by the New Jersey League of Municipalities, requesting our support for the military initiative. It's an initiative of a number of various groups to assist veterans in finding jobs, and it's a pretty straightforward resolution. Mr. Turtz, unless you have any objections to the language over here, it's pretty standard, and has been looked at by a number of towns to support the Employment Initiative Program for New Jersey Employer Support Guard and Reserves. Basically, supporting employment for our veterans returning home who find it difficult to find jobs. So unless there's any objections,
No. I'm in favor.
We've reviewed the resolution and there's no
Fine. So, Mayor, if we could ask the clerk to put this on the consent agenda for the next
We
meeting.
have 4 nodding heads, yes? 1, 2, 3. Yes, okay. Councilman Katz?
All right, I'm going to hold number 3, but I have another one that is not listed here. So the garbage containers that have been out now for a few months, and I've only heard very positive feedback. I don't know if other council members have received the same.
Yellow garbage cans?
What?
The yellow garbage cans?
No, for
You're talking about the trash receptacles around town?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Youth Advisory Board thought it was very cool.
Yeah. So I wanted to
We need more.
Right, exactly. So that's what I'm asking for, because apparently a resident came to me and said to me that they spoke to the company and that it was council that's not allowing more locations. And
Originally, we had some hesitation. We wanted to kind of start out with a trial.
But the contract
see
has
how it
some
went.
limits also. Right? There's limits that the...
Yeah, we started out with 25, I think it's approximately 25 locations in the 20s, so we wanted to see how those locations worked out first. I think we're getting a positive response. I also got to speak to a representative from the company to see how many more, they're willing to do as well. So.
But it's the council's, do I have a consent that it's the council's agreement that we're open to as many more as...
Yeah, I got 2 locations people requested. Yes, I have 2 locations where people requested.
Okay.
So.
I was originally hesitant about it, but they really do look nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're keeping it very clean,
Yeah.
and it's looking very sharp.
Actually, well, I don't want to, the app will come in and speak about it, but they've asked if the ugly green can could be removed from the sites where there's the new receptacles.
We usually do. On those we do.
There were some that...
Because there is a trash can in the unit.
All right, I just have one other item. I just wanted to get an update on the bid for the animal control. Are we out? Did we bid?
I saw something that came across my desk.
It is, if it's not out yet, it's going out very soon. He has a date.
There's a return date. I saw a return date on it. So I think they're
Okay. You don't know what that return date is, though? All right.
I might be able to find it.
No, it's okay. You can do it offline. Just let me know.
Okay.
All done?
Yep.
Township manager report?
Okay, as everyone knows, Votee Park is open. We have information on the website about the opening of Votee Park as well. I just want to say the grant application. We originally made application to Green Acres to get an extension on the grant. They were amenable to extension, but didn't think that we needed an extension at this point. So as the project moves along, as the advisory board is put together and gives the council a recommendation, I have spoken to officials at Green Acres, and it appears that, if this moves past the February 13th date, the expenditure of the funds moves past that date, we'll be able to get an extension on those grant funds. Only other thing I have is Clean and Green. I just wanted to make sure everyone knows about Clean and Green. Saturday, May 19th is the Clean and Green weekend. The mayor announced that before. It's from 9 a.m. to 12 on both days. Cleanups of Argonne Park, Brooks Park, Coolidge Park on that Saturday, the 19th. And on Sunday, the 20th, Brett Park cleanup, the burial grounds cleanup, Municipal Green, Flower Planting, and Terhune Park. And that's all I have.
Township attorney's report? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Any opposed?
Yes, I'll post. Put it down.
Just trying to understand the language. If it's a hearing, in my book, that means that there could be adjustment. If there was no adjustment possible,